You have zero tolerance for terrorism. May I ask?
Muslim political leader Asaduddin Owaisi had railed against it way back in 2019.
Carriage of justice. Recent example. 3 days ago, 4 boys from Amroha were released and by NIA.
At that time, 4 boys were arrested on charges of terrorism under Unlawful Activities Prevention Act.
Will you suspend those NIA officers? No, you will not do it. And I blame Congress party for this.
2 years later, the debate over the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, then a bill, is back. But for all the wrong reasons.
When they lose power, they become big brother of Muslims.
It is a law meant to prevent terror. It is a law intended to prevent illegal activity of all kinds. But is the legislation known as the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act or UAPA being intentionally misused by state governments? But did enforcement agencies invoke the UAPA law correctly? Going by the data compiled by the National Crime Records Bureau, it would seem not. The National Crime Records Bureau shows that there was a large number of acquittals between 2018 and 2020 and the rate of conviction was less than 5%. Let us break down the figures reported in Parliament by the State Minister for Home Affairs in December 2021. They show that most people who were arrested under the draconian law were from Uttar Pradesh. What is the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act or the UAPA all about?
Okay, UAPA is an act which was amended in 2004. There is a background attached to it. In 2004, UAPA was amended and Chapter 4 was included. Chapter 4 talks about the definition of terrorist activity. They have widened the scope of the terrorist activity. Anybody who aids, abates, also funds, also deals with the finances, all those activities are brought into this act. UAPA is a special act, so there is a special court. So that special court deals with that activity. There are various provisions which have been included, where even the provision of bail becomes very, very stringent.
But UAPA hasn't been used against terrorists alone. In recent times, activists, journalists, and students too were charged under the act. While the Delhi High Court granted bail to activists of Pinjra Tod, a women's collective, the court made a tough remark. It noted that in its zeal to suppress dissenters, the state had blurred the line between terrorist activity and the right to protest, which is guaranteed in the Constitution of India.
एक टेररिज्म पे जो है इम्प्लीमेंट होना चाहिए, एक टेररिस्ट पे इम्प्लीमेंट होना चाहिए, लेकिन होता ये है पिछले कुछ सालों से ये हो रहा है कि वो एक्टिविस्ट पे जो है वो यूएपीए यूज हो रहे हैं, वो जर्नलिस्ट पे यूज हो रहे हैं, वो जो है स्टूडेंट्स पे जो है यूएपीए जो है यूज किया जा रहा है। तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि आवाजों को दबाने के लिए जो है यूएपीए का मिसयूज किया जा रहा है। हमारे देश का कानून होना चाहिए कि अगर हमारे देश की एकता और अखंडता पे अगर सवाल आए, हमारे देश पे अगर कोई बात आए और अगर कोई एक बंदा ये बात कहे कि मैं देश के खिलाफ हूं, तो या देश को नुकसान पहुंचाना चाहता है, तो उस पे इस तरह के जो है एक्ट्स का इस्तेमाल होना चाहिए। लेकिन हो ये रहा है कि इस एक्ट का मिसयूज इस तरह से हो रहा है, मैंने आपको बताया कि स्टूडेंट्स पे, जर्नलिस्ट पे, एक्टिविस्ट पे, और साथ ही साथ किसी एक कम्युनिटी में ये जो है ज्यादा इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा है। मैं साफ साफ ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी के जो यूथ है उन पे जो है यूएपीए जो है वो प्रॉपर तरीके से जो है उसका मिसयूज करके उनको जो है यूएपीए का सहारा लेकर जो है वो जेल में डाला जा रहा है।
Is there need to amend the law again to stop its misuse?
जिस तरह से जो है देश का माहौल है और जिस तरह से मानसिकता बनते जा रहा है, तो आने वाले वक्त में जो है इस लॉ का और भी ज्यादा जो है गलत इस्तेमाल हो सकता है। तो इस तरह के लॉ से जो है हमेशा से जो है वो नुकसान हुआ है एक सोसाइटी को, देश को, लोगों को, और ऐसे लोगों को जो है सरकार के अगेंस्ट या सरकार की नीतियों के खिलाफ जो है वो सवाल पूछते हैं, ऐसे लोगों पे ये होता है। तो हम प्रॉपर ये चाहते हैं कि यूएपीए का जो पूरा लॉ है उसको अमेंड अगर वो सही से होता है तो ठीक है, नहीं होता है तो उसको जो है उस लॉ को ही पूरी तरीके से खत्म किया जाए।
Whenever a law is created, we have seen it's not for the first time it's happening. If you go back decades, you will find that every law has been misused to a certain extent. TADA was being misused and POTA was being misused. Essential Commodities Act recently was also being misused when, during pandemic, people were dealing with something like oxygen concentrator, etc. So misuse is a different aspect. The constitutional validity of a particular act is a different matter. But merely because the act is being misused doesn't mean that the statute is unconstitutional or it is invalid.
In any society, the rule of law is a must. A draconian law like the UAPA is necessary to act against terrorism and keep a nation secure. But it is up to the state and enforcement agencies to ensure that law is not invoked against anyone with prejudice in mind. Otherwise, it could work as an injustice to others. A Times Online report.